Part 42. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 412. Night falls quietly. From the distant mountains, the roars of beasts could be heard from time to time. The small mountain village was completely silent. Uncle John, who had been plowing the land for a day, drove the big black cow and the old scalper back home. Aunt Juan collected the clothes to dry. The urchins returned home covered in mud. Even though the world is getting easier, for the villagers who almost never leave the small mountain village, it seems like nothing has changed. In the small courtyard, Li Fan and a group of disciples finished dinner. Everyone was sitting in the courtyard, enjoying the cool evening breeze and chatting about home affairs. It was late at night, so they went back to their rooms to rest. Li Fan tidied up a room for Yungzi. It was extremely quiet in the small courtyard. A night of silence. Early next morning, the sun shone into the room. Li Fan woke up from his sleep and felt the soft little white next to his thigh. He stretched out his hand to rub the cat before getting up. After walking out of the room, Subakian and other female disciples helped Li Fan wash up as usual. As Li Fan got used to it, he felt that the disciples' damn thoughtfulness made him more depraved and lazy. Today's breakfast is soy milk, fried dough sticks, and eggs. Yungzi happily enjoys the simple and unpretentious living conditions in the small courtyard every day without making any fuss. But while eating breakfast, she was a little worried. She has been worried since she returned to the earth. Afraid of being found by the family. But at the same time, she felt a little homesick, and she didn't know what was going on with her grandfather. He must have been worried to death. Hey, it was all her fault that that guy from the Zhan family in the Great Ruins realm insisted on marrying her. Forced myself to leave home for several years. Well, maybe I should contact Grandpa. She muttered. Actually, the most important reason why she was able to escape from the Yun family 3 years ago, her grandfather Yun Qianshan helped her. There was a special communication crystal between her and her grandfather, but later she ran into the wilderness and hid the crystal, fearing that her family would track the crystal and find her. But later, she accidentally entered the underworld. Even if she wanted to return to the underworld, it would be extremely difficult. It's been 3 years, I'm afraid my family is worried to death. She thought that her grandfather and father might be heartbroken, and she couldn't help but feel extremely uncomfortable. In any case, it's been 3 years, and that guy from the Zhan family should have married someone else. Now, I should go get it and contact Grandpa. Sister, what's wrong? Doesn't Master's soy milk taste good? Ziling was careful and noticed something unusual about Yun 11, and asked immediately. Yun 11 said, No, I may have to leave for a few days. As she said that, she raised her head, looked at Li Fan weakly, and said. Which, Li Fan, can I leave for a few days? Li Fan said, Huh? What's wrong? Yun 11 suddenly became a little nervous and said. I've been away from home for a long time. I want to send a message home, don't worry, I won't reveal anything about you. I definitely won't. I won't leave you either. He is now the slave of the great devil. If the great devil thinks that he wants to escape, it will be over. Li Fan smiled when he heard this. What a big deal. As a little girl, after being away from home for a long time, she should give her family peace of mind. Okay, go ahead and be safe. Li Fan spoke. Hearing this, Yun 11 was immediately happy. She quickly finished her breakfast and said. Da Li Fan, I'm leaving. I'll be back soon. Li Fan nodded, and she left immediately. Soon, everyone finished breakfast. Yuking, bring me my master's bow. Li Fan opened his mouth and said, Master, I will take you out for a walk. Now that we are in a new environment, we have to get familiar with the situation. Especially if you are unfamiliar with the place. What if there are any wild beasts in this mountain? If we don't investigate clearly in advance, it will be bad if the village is attacked by wild beasts. Bring a bow and arrow to be on guard. He immediately left with a group of disciples. And at this moment, after Yungzi left the small mountain village, he immediately activated his skills. Vaguely, she suddenly felt some kind of weak connection. Oi! The communication crystal I left behind is still there. She spoke happily. Before, I was really worried that people from the family would find me. She immediately left in a certain direction. Not long after, Li Fan led a group of disciples out of the small mountain village. The barren mountains are full of desolation. The mountains in front of us are graceful, and occasionally, one or two huge beast roars can be heard faintly in the mountains and forests. Li Fan took them into the mountains. When they passed through a mountain forest somewhere. Ouch! There seems to be a tiger roaring in the forest. Nanfang, Ziling, and others' expressions changed. They all felt a terrible pressure. The terrifying beasts in the world, their aura actually vaguely surpasses that of the Holy Dao. It's over, there won't be any tigers in this mountain. Li Fan was also a little nervous and subconsciously held the bow. Don't be afraid, I am at the first level of chi refining, but I have shot a brown bear to death. He couldn't help comforting himself. The moment he held the long bow. In the mountain forest, a certain powerful tiger with white forehead and dazzling eyes was peeping, and suddenly felt a great fear. Then, the tiger as big as a mountain ran away. It was like seeing a ghost. When the tiger was running away, it even brought up a strong wind. On the spot, Nanfan and others felt the strong wind, and even vaguely saw the shadow of the tiger escaping in a hurry. Such a powerful tiger, was scared away by Master. It was a surprise to everyone. Master's bow is unimaginable. Duguyuking looked complicated. As for Li Fan, his palms are sweaty at this moment. Damn, I'm so nervous. Fortunately, it seems that there is no danger around. He nodded and said, "Let's keep walking." The group immediately continued moving forward. Not long after, they faintly heard the howling of wolves, the chirping of eagles, etc. However, just like the tigers before, those powerful creatures, all escaped. Finally, Li Fan led a group of disciples and climbed a mountain peak. This mountain forest is so primitive, there should be many ferocious beasts, how can it be so safe? Li Fan was a little confused. After hearing this, a group of disciples were speechless. They really want to say, "Master, put down your bow first." That's all, it seems like there's not much going on around here. Let's get familiar with each other. Li Fan opened his mouth, put the bow aside, and said, Ziling, painting, Nanfan, playing music. Since there is no danger, let's just treat it as a gathering. The female disciples all stayed behind, while Duguyuking and others continued to explore the surroundings. Wu Dade, on the other hand, was leading a big black dog in a certain direction, his eyes shining brightly, and he said, "Dead dog, let's go, let's chase the tiger before it gets too far, and we'll chew the tiger's bones for you tonight." And at this moment, in a mountain forest, do we really want to keep moving forward? Ahead is the Grey Mist mountain range. A group of young people in Muling village were a little hesitant. Even Mu Jing looked at Mu Wanking and said, "Wanking, are you sure? It's too dangerous ahead. Even if the village chief is here, he won't dare to step in." Not to mention the weird grey mist, they knew that there were several overlord-level beasts ahead that they couldn't afford to offend. The roaring tiger, the flying eagle, the bloodthirsty demonic wolf, any one of them can sweep across an area. If you encounter, there is only one way to die. Mu Wanking said. I feel like, something great is coming out ahead. The spiritual energy, is really gathering in that direction. It feels obvious. Good. Mujing also gritted his teeth and said. The outer area has been searched for a long time. If you want to save the sacrifice spirit, you can only go inside. He takes people with him and moves forward. But at this moment, Mu Wanking's expression suddenly changed and she turned around and said. There are enemies. She just finished speaking. At the back, I saw an unruly young man leading a group of people out. Haha, she is indeed the woman that I have fallen in love with. This spiritual sense is, not bad. The unruly young man looked at Mu Wanking with burning eyes. Huayan from Huailing village. Mu Jing's face suddenly darkened, he held an iron gun in his hand and said, What are you doing here? Of course I'm here to kill you. Huayan was very direct and sneered. Hand over Mu Wanking, and then commit suicide. Mu Jing's eyes burned with anger and he said. Do you, Huailing village, want to start a war? But Huayan sneered even more and said. A big war? With your dying sacrificial spirit, why are you fighting with us? Ridiculous. Mu Jing and others were shocked. Huailing village, do you know the current situation in Muling village? They immediately understood that the other party had been waiting for them and others to leave the village. Wanking, I'm blocking them, please leave quickly. Mu Jing spoke in a low voice, and after finishing speaking, he suddenly moved his spear. The strength that cuts through my realm bursts out. The young man from Muling village beside him took action at the same time. That's ridiculous. Huayan just shook his head and said. Third and fourth uncles, I leave it to you. Suddenly, two adults walked out behind him. Those are two strong men. They struck suddenly, and the powerful spiritual power was suppressed like a lake. Mu Jing and others suddenly vomited blood, turned pale, and could not take another step forward. These two strong men are in the realm of great saints. Among the people in Muling village, Mu Jing, the strongest, could only kill me, the Holy King. He is not his opponent at all. Mu Wanking, from today on, you are my slave in Huayan, ha ha ha. Huayan laughed, walked towards Mu Wanking, and grabbed it with his big hand. Mu Wanking's expression changed, but she couldn't escape at this moment and was suddenly grabbed by his hand. Come, let me taste your lips. Huayan's eyes were burning. But, right now. Ouch. A loud roar suddenly came out. A terrifying power, overwhelming. Everyone in the field couldn't help but kneel on the spot at this moment. It's over, Xuanhuan. The two great saints of Huailing village looked horrified. Xuanhuan, that is the overlord who has perfected the holy path and the realm of seeing the way. Invincible. There is only one thought in everything, it's over. However, a gust of wind swept past, and the terrifying tiger shadow paid no attention to them and ran away. Everyone was kneeling on the ground, trembling. They didn't see that behind the terrifying tiger shadow, there was a big black dog chasing vaguely. Finally, Xuanhuan finally left. The area fell silent. Has Xuanhuan gone crazy, and actually escaped from this area? Everyone looked up, feeling very happy, their backs were already soaked. At this time, a fat man suddenly walked out of the woods ahead. Wu Date had a leisurely trip. Anyway, the dog had been released, and the little tiger couldn't escape. Just waiting for the tiger bone soup to be stewed at night. When he walked out of the forest, he saw that a group of people in front of him were all kneeling on the ground. What are you doing? Wu Date was a little confused. He didn't know these people, so why did they kneel down to him? When they heard Wu Date's words, everyone was shocked and raised their heads suddenly. Huayan's eyes suddenly flashed with murderous intent. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 413. Wu Date looked at everyone with a puzzled expression. And everyone kneeling on the ground was also shocked. Who is this person? He actually walked out from the grey mist mountain ridge. Is it someone from some powerful tribe? Possible. Everyone was talking in low voices, and at the same time, they all stood up. Huan stared at Wu Dade with a hint of murderous intent in his eyes and said, "Where do you come from?" Wu Dade said, "Of course from our village." Hearing this, Huan relaxed instantly. Others in Huailing village are also on alert. In the wilderness, forces are also divided into hierarchies. The weakest is the village. Unless they are from small tribes, large tribes, and other forces, Huailing village cannot afford to offend them. Ordinary villages, in the eyes of Huailing village, they are simply not good enough. Mu Wanqing, on the other hand, said anxiously towards Wu Dade, "Run away. They want to kill you and silence you." However, as soon as she finished speaking, Huan waved his hand. Immediately, the people from Huailing village directly surrounded Wu Dade. Everyone has evil intentions on their faces. Wu Dade suddenly showed a hint of nervousness and said, You want to kill me?" Huan said coldly, "Damn fat man, if you want to blame me, I blame you for seeing things you shouldn't have seen." Currently, Muling village cannot be informed that it is Huailing village that is targeting Muling village. After all, the sacrificial spirit of Muling village is still capable of fighting. If it knows, it is Huailing village who wants to cut off his way. If he goes crazy, it can also cause considerable harm to Huailing village. Kill him. After giving the order, an adult from Huailing village stepped forward and shouted, "Go to hell." The great sage's cultivation was released instantly, and the adult punched away with powerful force. However, Wu Dade raised his hand and blocked all attacks with a palm. He shook his head and said, "You are so weak. You still want to kill Fatty? You are not even qualified to give Fatty a massage." After saying that, his figure disappeared from the place. Punch the fat man. The next moment, he had burst into the crowd. Boom! With one punch, a great saint-level adult screamed and flew out. No. Wu Dade raised his hand, and the other great sage knelt directly on the ground, his knees shattered. Like a tiger entering a flock of sheep. In an instant, more than 20 strong men from Huailing village all fell to the ground, wailing and screaming. Everyone else was shocked. "This person is so strong, so strong," Mu Jing murmured. This time in Huailing village, there are 2 great sages leading the team. The rest of the people are also above the shackles realm. However, this person in front of me can defeat them all in an instant. Being able to do this. Huan, let's go quickly, this person is almost voyeuristic. A middle-aged man even struggled to speak to Huan. However, Huan stared at Wu Dade with murderous intent boiling in his eyes. "Become an enemy of our Huailing village, and you, and the village behind you, will all perish." In his hand, he suddenly took out a human skull. "That skull looks like that of a baby." Mu Wanqing suddenly turned pale and said, "That's the evil thing produced by Huailing village by sacrificing a baby to that locust tree." In the wilderness, offering sacrifices to spirits to protect villages, tribes, etc. is not without cost. Most of the sacrifices to the spirits require humans to pay expensive sacrifices. For example, in Huailing village, the sacrificial spirit is a locust tree. Every year, Huailing village needs to select a group of babies and sacrifice them to the sacrificial spirit. A kind-hearted sacrificial spirit like the old vine from Muling village, is extremely rare in the entire wilderness. At this moment, the baby's skull appeared in Huan's hand. In an instant, a huge locust tree seemed to appear behind Huan. And above the shadow of the locust tree, there seemed to be densely packed corpses of babies. The surrounding 100-meter square area was instantly shrouded in a gloomy aura. Everyone in this area can't help but tremble and fear at this moment. Huan held the skull in his hand and slowly stepped forward. This breath comes from the skull. Swallow. Huan shouted lowly. I saw a hanging baby on the locust tree. Suddenly it raised its eyes, let out a ghostly cry, and rushed towards Wu Dade. When Wu Dade saw this, he immediately became furious. Nima, what the hell is this? It looks scary. If I had known there was such an evil thing, I should have called junior brother Lin here. But, it's too late now. Help the dead dog. He shouted hurriedly. As his voice fell, a dog barking suddenly came over. Woof. The dog's bark seemed to contain some kind of terrifying power. The baby that rushed towards Wu Dade suddenly let out a shrill scream and exploded. The shadow of the terrifying locust tree collapsed instantly. Huan hurriedly looked down and saw that the skull in his hand had been shattered into powder. He was suddenly shocked. What's going on? This is a treasure given by the sacrificial spirit. No. Then, what is that? At this time, a man in Huailing village suddenly looked in a certain direction in horror. Everyone turned their heads. I saw not far away, a big black dog, carrying a huge eye-catching white-fronted tiger in its mouth, came over. That dog, with its head held high, looks like a king. And the tiger that was bigger than the black dog, was dead. Everyone is staring at this scene. Howling wild tiger. Seeing this scene, everyone was shocked. Because that tiger is none other than the notorious roaring tiger. How is it possible that the famous roaring tiger was actually caught by a dog? A dog that can kill the howling tiger, what kind of dog is this? Xuanhuan is a creature that has half-stepped into the divine path. It's unimaginable. Everyone spoke in shock. Huan was even more shocked and thought in his mind, it is rumored that a hybrid tengu appeared in the depths of the wilderness. Could it be, this is it? Seeing that the weird baby finally disappeared, Wu Dade relaxed and looked at the big black dog with a look of disgust on his face and said, Damn dog, you can't do it? Isn't it just a little tiger? I've been chasing him for so long. The big black dog said contemptuously. Wow, my dear, your skin is itchy, aren't you? As he said that, the big black dog glanced at everyone in the field, stared at Huan and said, You want to touch this person's favor? Huan's face turned pale at this moment, and he hurriedly knelt down and said, Senior, misunderstanding, misunderstanding. If I knew that he was your favorite, I would definitely not act recklessly. As he spoke, he quickly turned his head, kowtowed to Wu Dade and begged. Brother, I was wrong, please forgive me. Huan could never afford to offend the dog in front of him. In fact, it is definitely extraordinary for the force that this fat man belongs to have such a war dog. When Wu Dade heard this, he was so angry that his nose started to smoke. He gritted his teeth and suddenly said, Do you know what kind of dog this is? He pointed at the big black dog and said, If you guess it right, I won't kill you. Hearing this, Huan was overjoyed. He hurriedly said, I know, this must be the hybrid tengu, the hybrid tengu. As soon as these 4 words came out, the big black dog's eyes were filled with resentment and he said, Wow! Insulting me makes you so angry. As soon as it raised its paw, Huan let out a scream. No. He perished on the spot, and until his death, he still didn't understand why he died. Everyone in Muling village had complicated expressions when they saw this scene. Hunting the howling tiger, raising its claws to destroy the great sage, even the evil objects worshipped in Huailing village can be destroyed with one roar. Wu Dade, with a vengeful smile on his face, looked at Huan's body and said, Young man, you are dying from lack of imagination. Then, he looked at Mu Wonking and others and said, You. Upon hearing this, Mu Jing hurriedly said, We We can't guess that this senior's cultivation is astonishing in the past and today. How can we, with our naked eyes, recognize his power? He thought Wu Dade was asking them to guess the origin of the black dog, and he was breaking out in a cold sweat at this moment. How dare you guess? Huailing village has learned from the past. Wu Dade. When the big black dog heard this, he screamed with pride in his eyes. He looked at Wu Dade with disgust and said, I heard that no one loves me, so learn from others. Come here and drag this tiger away. We are going to drink tiger bone soup tonight. Wu Dade's face turned dark, but he still stepped forward, dragged the tiger body, and prepared to leave. But at this time, Mu Wanqing gritted her teeth and said, This young master, can we go with you to the front to have a look? She was extremely worried. However, she knew that something extraordinary must be born ahead, otherwise the spiritual energy would not be so concentrated. And if you want to save the sacrificial spirit, you must find those heavenly and earthly treasures. Wu Dade said, Come with us. What are you going to do? Mu Wanqing said. Master Qi, the sacrificial spirit in our Muling village is about to disappear. Let's come here to find something to keep it alive. She didn't dare to hide it. Sacrifice? Wu Dade was confused by this. However, he thought about it and realized that since these people came from the wilderness, they must have a better understanding of the situation here, so there was nothing wrong with taking them back to meet their master. Okay, you come with us. He spoke to Mu Wanqing. Mu Wanqing suddenly became excited and said, Thank you, sir. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 414. On the mountain peak. Long Xuanhuan, Qing Chen, Du Guyuqing and other disciples have also returned. In fact, all the ferocious beasts for hundreds of miles around have completely escaped. Nanfeng is playing the piano and Ziling is painting. Li Fan sat on a stone and felt comfortable. Climbing mountains and looking at the scenery is one of his favorite things to do. Listening to Nanfen's piano music, Li Fan couldn't help but nod. Nanfen had almost understood the Song of Emperor Zun breaking the formation. Xianning, let me teach you a new poem. At this time, Li Fan suddenly stood up and spoke. Xianning's big eyes suddenly flashed and she said, Okay. She sat down obediently. And the disciples around him also listened attentively. They have long been accustomed to the fact that every word and deed of their master contains the supreme truth. Especially poetry. The things contained in it are even more remarkable and worthy of their repeated chanting, which can enhance their understanding of the Great Road and improve their own state of mind. Li Fan raised his eyes and looked around, and saw thousands of miles of vast wilderness, like a dragon and a snake moving around like a pen, with veins running thousands of miles away. Looking from a high position, he felt generous. How is Mr. Daizong? Kilu is still young. The clock of good fortune is beautiful, and the yin and yang cut off the dusk. Zhenyun is born when the chest is widened, and the returning bird returns to the canthus. You will be at the top of the mountain, and you will be able to see all the mountains and small mountains at a glance. As he read every word, a group of disciples were all shocked. They clearly felt that the creation of heaven and earth could be described in one poem. The clock of creation is beautiful, yin and yang cut off the dawn, sure enough, sure enough. Nanfen's chest rose and fell, and he said, Master, finally revealed his big plan. The underworld and the world of heaven, are indeed his old man's handiwork. Involving the creation, looking down at the heaven and earth, the master's spirit is unparalleled. Du Guyuqing is extremely admired. Master doesn't need to ride a dragon, he is already above the 9 heavens, only when the heart is in heaven and the Tao can be in heaven. Xuanhuan was very emotional. Not only did his master's cultivation reach the heavens and the earth, his state of mind was enough to make anyone feel ashamed. I will be at the top of the mountain and see all the mountains at a glance. Only those who have been to the top of the mountain can say such famous sayings. A strange light flashed in Ziling's big eyes. Xuanning, on the other hand, recited word for word. The clock of creation is beautiful, the yin and yang are separated by the dusk. You will be at the top of the mountain, and you can see all the mountains and small mountains at a glance. Other disciples are also chanting silently. Li Fan saw many disciples seeming to be chanting this poem. He smiled and said, "Exactly, the essence of the whole poem lies in the last sentence. You will be at the top of the mountain, and you will be able to see all the small mountains. This sentence is enough to inspire your life. My teacher, I just hope that you will not be blinded by the past. You need to know that only by constantly climbing forward can you see the scenery at a higher level." He pointed at the vast land and said, "You can see different things at every height. Only when you look at the world with your heart can you find that the world and you are one. My whole life is considered useless." He only hopes that in the future, these disciples will all be able to achieve something, at least not like him, living in a rural village and living an ordinary life. Therefore, he used this poem to inspire everyone. However, at this moment, everyone could not help but fall into deep thinking. Don't be blinded by the past, Master, this is to let us open our eyes to see the world. Zhang Li thought about it, and suddenly he felt so blessed. The cultivation of one's body is like a matter of course. This time, he easily crossed the threshold. The holy path is complete. Holy Emperor. Be one with the world, feel this world. Yes, I am an outsider in the painting, but I have never entered my painting. Ziling murmured, and her breath suddenly changed. He also became a painting saint emperor. Don't be blinded by the past, then forget the past and the swordsmanship you practiced before. Tuguyuking murmured. He has also made great progress in strength, and has already seen the way. Nanfan, Subakian, Linjuchhan, Qingchen, Longzixuan, as well as Xining and Gongyat are all blessed at this moment, and they can take a step forward in an instant. Among the many disciples, Lu Rang had never understood poetry very well, but his mind was in harmony with the grass. The grass he raised seemed to have a higher understanding than him. When it swayed in the wind, Lu Rang's state of mind improved at the same time, and his realm broke through. The most important thing about spiritual practice is to cultivate the mind. Their foundation and accumulation are no longer lacking, but they are just missing a little state of mind. At this moment, I feel a higher level of vision and realize a broader avenue. Everything comes naturally. I feel that since entering this world, the oppression between heaven and earth seems to be no longer there. At this moment, Nanfan felt the world and suddenly felt something. She had a feeling that the potential in her body seemed to be being released as she entered this world. It should be said that in the underworld, all the sacred substances we receive are actually reshaping our lives. Ziling murmured in a low voice. In a sense, we were born from the underworld and should have been yin spirits. But now, we are no different from people in the underworld. All of this comes from Master's meticulous care and the endless intake of medicine we have taken before. Treasures, etc. The other disciples also suddenly realized. They have been in the small mountain village for a year or two. Everything eaten and drank during this period was sacred. Now it seems that those things, even in the underworld, are extremely rare elixirs and treasures. If people in the underworld can obtain them, they can soar to the sky on the path to the gods. However, after 1 or 2 years of accumulation, Nanfan and others have only completed the holy path. Why? For one thing, the underworld is illusory and broken after all, and its rules and heaven and earth are not enough to support their path. Second, when they are in a small mountain village, they will be inexplicably suppressed and their entry will be extremely slow. What's more important is that those sacred substances, including divine springs, flat peaches, etc., are actually reshaping their lives after taking them day and night. Let them transform from ghosts into real people. This process is secret and natural, like moisturizing things silently. They didn't understand it until now, when they stepped into the underworld. The yin spirit has long passed away in the real years. But now, they have successfully reversed the yin and yang and become living people, not the ghosts of the past. In a sense, the continuous reshaping of life in the past 2 years is the greatest opportunity they have gained in the small mountain village. Most of the divine biological matter absorbed day and night was consumed in the process of reshaping their lives and allowing them to transform from ghost spirits to humans. Their current cultivation level seems to be incidental. But now, they have become real creatures. Therefore, the magical medicines and other medicines taken in the future should show their due power, and the potential in the body will also explode in this world. Thinking of this, every disciple's face is full of expectations. At this moment, Wu Dade dragged a tiger up the mountain. The big black dog followed him, and there was also a girl. Wu Dade was panting. When he arrived here, he was startled. Because he discovered, how come all the senior brothers and sisters have made a breakthrough? His eyes widened. What did he miss? Master, what happened to you, your teacher, brothers and sisters? He felt a little aggrieved and said, I want to learn too. Li Fan turned around and was shocked when he saw Wu Dade. Where did this disciple get such a big tiger? Isn't it too cruel? This tiger, did you kill it? Li Fan couldn't help but ask. Wu Dade shook his head. This was killed by a dog. He didn't have the ability yet. When Li Fan saw this, he nodded. Wu Dade did not kill him. It seemed that he was lucky and saw a tiger corpse in the wilderness. Well, it looks strangely fresh, so it should still be edible. This disciple really knows how to live a good life. Not bad, not bad, take it back to the village and master will cook it for you in the evening. Li Fan speaks. Such a large prey is definitely enough for a big meal. Many disciples were also overjoyed. Mu Wanqing, who followed Wu Dade, looked even more complicated. This is an overlord-level creature, stewed and eaten? By the way, master, who is this? Then, Li Fan looked at Mu Wanqing again. Mu Wanqing's heart suddenly tightened. She looked at Li Fan nervously, only to find that she couldn't feel the slightest fluctuation of spiritual energy from Li Fan. Like a mortal? No. Impossible, this kind of existence, a group of disciples, all of them are in the realm of Peking, how can they be mortals? She instantly understood that she was too weak, so she couldn't see the strength of the senior at all. Junior Mu Wanqing comes from Muling village not far away. I would like to pay my respects to my senior. She saluted hastily. Li Fan was surprised. Muling village? Are there other villages in this mountain? He immediately smiled and said, no need to be polite. What brings you here? Mu Wanqing said. Senior Qi, an old vine in our village is dying. I'm here to find a way to save it. She gritted her teeth and said, Senior, please take action. We in Muling village are willing to give anything. An old vine is dying? Li Fan was confused for a moment and said. What vine? Mu Wanqing was stunned for a moment, but immediately said. Senior Qi, that is a grapevine. Grape. Li Fan immediately understood that there was something wrong with the crops in the village. As a person who has been there, Li Fan deeply understands that crops are so important to the village. When he first came here, the cultivation level in the village was very low, and pests and diseases were very serious, making life difficult for the villagers. Later, under the ravages of the system, he improved all the crops in the village and improved the soil in the village. This allowed everyone to escape poverty and live a life of ample food and clothing. Thinking of the past, Li Fan couldn't help but sympathize with the situation in Muling village. This girl has found the right person when she meets him. Since we are neighboring villages, I will not leave you alone. In this case, you can follow me back to the village. Li Fan spoke immediately. Hearing this, Mu Wanqing was overjoyed and extremely grateful. Thank you, senior. The group immediately packed up their things and prepared to leave. But Wu Dade continued to come forward and said, Master, you haven't told me yet, what happened to your senior brothers and sisters? He looked at Li Fan eagerly. Now he is the only one who is still the quasi-emperor. How embarrassing. Li Fan smiled and said. Just a poem. He repeated it immediately. But after listening to it, Wu Dade felt confused. I don't understand it at all. At this moment, he deeply felt that he suffered the disadvantage of being uneducated. Blood loss. He gritted his teeth, turned to look at Zhang Li, and said, Brother, I want to learn to read and write in the future. For the sake of cultivation, you have to study hard even if you work hard. But Zhang Li was startled for a moment and said, Junior brother Dade, it is good to have a desire to learn, but I think reading is not as useful to you in breaking through the realm as letting Dehe bite a few more bites. After all, Wu Dade is different from them and does not take the ordinary path. Wu Dade has to be beaten and bitten in order to become stronger. When Wu Dade heard this, he looked at the big black dog faintly. The big black dog was startled for a moment, and seemed to be a little nervous because of Wu Dade's eyes. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 415. Not long after, everyone had arrived in front of the village. Mu Wanqing was shocked when she saw the small mountain village in front of her. Because she discovered that the source of endless spiritual energy was actually this small mountain village. What kind of village is this? Can you actually absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth? This senior must be a powerful person. He has set up some kind of terrifying magic circle around the village, right? She guessed. Come with me. Li Fan took her inside. Entering the small mountain village, Mu Wanqing's eyes widened even more. She saw a plum tree at the entrance of the village. That plum tree clearly gave her a terrifying feeling. Is this a spiritual sacrifice in this small mountain village? So powerful. I am afraid that among the village-level forces, they are all extremely powerful soul worshippers. I don't know how much it costs to support such a sacrificial spirit. Her heart was complicated, and she subconsciously looked towards the roots of the plum tree. She saw the mud. Hiss. She couldn't help but take a breath of cold air, because the soil at the root of the plum tree, the aura was visible to the naked eye. This is the supreme spiritual land. No wonder this small mountain village can have such terrifying sacrifices to the spirits. Are these spiritual soils the price the small mountain village pays? This price is too high. She trembled, if she could get one. I'm afraid it can extend the life of the sacrificial spirit for a while, right? But how should I speak? Such precious and supreme soil, I am afraid that every grain of it is worth immeasurable, and in the outside world, it can be auctioned for sky-high prices. The Muling village is not qualified to get it. Huh? What's wrong? Do you want to eat plums? They're not ripe yet. Li Fan smiled. Mu Wanqing was extremely hesitant, but she finally spoke and said, Senior, King Guan wants to ask for a few pieces of soil from the roots of this sacred tree. Her face was full of anxiety and shame. She knew how excessive her request was. She felt so ashamed. However, for the sake of sacrificing spirits. For Muling village. Don't care about that much. When Li Fan heard this, he was startled. Do you want the soil at the root of this plum tree? However, Li Fan suddenly realized that he had specially done pest control treatment for the soil in this village. In a sense, these soils can prevent various diseases of fruit trees. It's hard to tell that Xuanhuan is an agricultural expert and can see the use of this soil. At such a young age, one can have such agricultural knowledge and cultivation. Okay. Originally, Li Fan planned to go back to the small courtyard to study and prepare some potions for her. But now it seems that since Xuanhuan is an agricultural expert, he must be sure of the condition of the grapevine. Since she thought the mud could be used, Li Fan didn't bother to put in more effort. Of course, you can take as much as you want. Li Fan smiled and spoke. Hearing this, Xuanhuan was stunned. What? This senior actually agreed to his almost rude request? Did you actually allow yourself to take the supreme divine soil here? She was extremely surprised. Sky! What a great opportunity this is! She was so grateful that she wanted to cry and said, "Thank you, senior, thank you, senior." Li Fan smiled and said, "It's a small effort, so why bother? Then, just get busy first. If you need anything, come back to me at any time." Li Fan immediately went back with a group of disciples. After they left, Xuanhuan took a deep breath. She stepped forward and knelt down deeply towards the plum tree. Supreme Sacrificial Spirit, Junior Xuanhuan, in order to save the sacrificial spirit of our Muling village, I would like to ask you for some spiritual soil. Please don't blame me, King Guan really has no choice. She is extremely pious. Because sacrificial spirits are extremely powerful creatures, and this plum tree is even more unimaginable. Be sure to be respectful and courteous. Otherwise, when people get angry, not only her, but even Muling village may be destroyed. But there was no movement in the plum tree. It was as if he hadn't heard it at all. She hesitated for a moment, then stepped forward respectfully, gently picked up 3 small pieces of soil with her hands. Her hands were shaking. Things can only be done by 3 things. I hope that Lord Sacrifice Spirit will not be angry. She backed away with difficulty, keeping her head down, not daring to look at the plum tree. Finally, the spiritual soil was obtained, and this terrifying spirit sacrifice master was not angry. She let out a long breath, so lucky. Thank you, Lord Sacrifice Spirit. Muling village is deeply grateful to you. After saying that, she bowed deeply in the direction where Li Fan and others left. Only then walked out of the small mountain village. Soon, she left here. Keep going back the way you came. Not long after, we arrived at the woods before. Mujing and others are waiting anxiously. Hey, that fat man and that scary black dog, I don't know if they are evil or good, their origins are unknown, I really shouldn't have let Wanking follow them. Mujing held the spear and blamed herself to the extreme. Brother Mujing, I'm back. At this time, a voice came. Suddenly, Mujing and others hurriedly looked over. Seeing Wanking, Mujing, and others were overjoyed and excited. Sister Wanking, you are finally back. Mujing hurriedly stepped forward and said. Are you okay? Did they hurt you? Wanking shook her head and said. I'm fine, I've arrived at an extremely powerful village. And, I also found something that can revive the sacrifice spirit. Hearing this, Mujing looked shocked and said. Wanking, are you telling the truth? Wanking nodded. The brocade box in her sleeves made her heart beat loudly, and she said, we have to return to the village immediately. Good. Mujing and others set off immediately. And at this moment, somewhere under a mountain, in a village. In front of this village, there is a huge locust tree growing. The branches of the locust tree are extremely dense. The weirdest thing is that there are actually baby corpses hanging on the locust tree. Those corpses were pierced by the branches of the locust tree, and all nutrients were absorbed by the locust tree. The corpses dried up and swayed in the wind. Huailing village. My son. In the village, a cry of pain came out. A middle-aged man with a look of hatred on his face. He is the head of Huailing village, Huirendong. Huiyan is his son, but now, he is dead. His death was unclear, and even his body could not be found. Village chief, it must be Muling village who did it. Muling village actually dares to attack Huiyan's nephew. Damn it! We should attack. Everyone in Huailing village spoke in a deep voice. Huirendong also flashed a ruthless look on his face and said, to pay homage to the spirits, I'm going to destroy the wood spirit village. Originally, according to the plan, they had to wait for a while until the sacrificial spirit of Muling village was completely dead. Just take action. But now, he can't bear it anymore. Soon, the villagers presented 3 babies to the locust tree. The branches of the locust tree moved, and the 3 babies were directly stuck on the paper strips. The baby cried loudly and was quickly sucked dry by the locust tree. Please help the sacrificial spirits, we will make Muling village pay for its blood debt with blood. Huirendong spoke in a deep voice. On the locust tree, a branch suddenly broke. It fell into the hands of Huirendong. This is for spiritual sacrifice. Soon. Dusk falls. The setting sun is like blood. Mujing and others finally returned to the village. There were cries and howls in the village. Dad, Dad, wake up quickly. Ah-san, how can I live if you die? My son. Many people, men, women, and children, were crying. Xuanhuan and others hurriedly entered the village. They saw more than a dozen corpses arranged in a row. They are all the villagers sent out by the village to find treasures today. Uncle Nanshan, what's going on? What happened? Mujing asked a middle-aged man in charge. The middle-aged man was wearing bronze armor and his face was as sharp as a knife. He was the strongest middle-aged man in the village, Munanshan. A look of sadness and anger flashed across Munanshan's face, and he said, Huailing village. They sniped us. When Mujing and others heard this, they were instantly filled with hatred. Huailing village. Mu Wanqing gritted her teeth and clenched her fists. Carry them to the funeral rites, hold a funeral ceremony, and then bury them. At this time, on the other side, the village chief Murantian, who had been silent for a long time in front of the old vine, spoke. The villagers carried the body over. Village chief, we want revenge. We want revenge. Many people shouted. Even Munanshan said. We and Huailing village will fight until death. However, Murantian had a flash of unbearability in his eyes and said. No. The state of the spirit sacrifice is unstable, and there must be no more wars for the time being. At this time, Mu Wanqing stepped forward and said. Grandpa village chief, I found a treasure that can prolong the life of the spirit. Hearing this, everyone was shocked. They all looked at Mu Wanqing. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 416. A treasure that can be used to prolong the life of the soul? Everyone in the village looked at Mu Wanqing in surprise. Wanqing, what did you say? Murantian was a little in disbelief and said, have you really found something that can keep the sacrificial spirit alive? You must know that they in Muling village have been searching hard for several months. But, nothing was found. Under the attention of everyone, Mu Wanqing took a deep breath, and then took out the brocade box from her sleeve. She opened it gently. In an instant, an extremely rich divine spirit floated out from the brocade box. Everyone's expressions were shocked. This kind of aura, just by smelling it, makes them feel extremely extraordinary. My God, what kind of treasure is this? It's such a rich spiritual energy. One sniff makes me feel refreshed and clear, it's so extraordinary. What exactly is it? Everyone stared at the wooden box. Even the dying old vine, which seemed like a yellow leaf at this moment, was swaying towards the brocade box. Murantian was shocked. He stepped forward, his hands trembling, and said, This is spiritual soil. Muwanking handed the box to Murantian. Murantian lowered his head and saw the 3 grains of spiritual soil in the box. The entire wooden box is filled with an invisible Taoist charm because of these 3 grains of spiritual soil. Extremely extraordinary. Murantian suddenly took a breath of air. Where did you find such a treasure? He asked shakily. This thing is so precious. If the outside world knew about it, I'm afraid it would attract competition from those supreme dynasties. Muwanking said, come from a small mountain village. The sacrifices to the spirits of that village were made using this kind of spiritual soil. Hearing this, everyone was stunned. A worshipper in a small mountain village can actually enjoy this kind of spiritual soil. Terrible. What, a mountain village? Murantian's eyes were filled with disbelief. Yes, that small mountain village. Muwanking then spoke, but Murantian hastily stopped him and said, it's not appropriate to say more about this matter. He is experienced, so he understands very well that such a force must be very terrifying. Maybe it's a super sect hidden in the wilderness. Anything said about this kind of power should be considered taboo. Hearing this, Muwanking was startled for a moment, but she nodded immediately. She understood that in this small mountain village, even the village chief was extremely afraid. Murantian walked to the old vine. He gently took out a grain of soil. Then, it was placed respectfully at the root of the old vine. In an instant, the entire old vine actually began to tremble. Its roots trembled and fell on the piece of spiritual soil. In an instant, the spiritual soil emits endless light. Extremely holy. At this moment, the entire old vine was bathed in this sacred light, which even enveloped the entire wood spirit village. The men, women, and children in Muling village were all astonished. They stood on the outside and received some kind of blessing. This aura makes me feel like I'm a little younger. The hidden wounds in my body actually show signs of healing. Abba, I feel like I have grown a little taller. The villagers were all surprised. Murantian, Muwanking and others stared at the sacrificial spirit. The withered branches of the sacrifice spirit suddenly became full of life at this moment. Green spores swelled up instantly. Those withered yellow leaves have turned around and become lush and green at this moment. In an instant, everyone felt that the sacrificial spirit had become countless times more powerful. Sacrifice the soul, and regain a new life. Murantian was extremely excited. The aura of the sacrifice spirit at this moment is even more powerful than when it was at its original peak. Sacrifice to the spirits, has it been taken to the next level? He held the brocade box in his hand, stepped forward tremblingly, and said, please use it for worship. He was ready to offer spiritual soil. However, on the old vine, a branch swayed gently. A faint voice came out. The supreme treasure, if you keep it, you can build a clan. I have been given 1,000 years of life, no need to waste it. Hearing this, everyone was even more shocked. They treat Jiling as if they were gods. But now, the sacrifice spirit actually used the words supreme treasure to describe this soil. 2 pieces of spiritual soil were praised by the Seen family. In fact, just by absorbing a grain of soil, this sacrificial spirit gained a life of thousands of years. This spiritual soil. That so-called small mountain village. I can't even think about it. When Murantian heard this, he was stunned. He nodded deeply and said, as you command. After saying that, he turned around and handed the brocade box to Muwanking. Wonking, I will leave this to you for safekeeping. He opened his mouth and said, this is, your fate. He thinks a lot. This kind of treasure may be difficult for even the most powerful forces in the Great Ruins realm to possess. It was unimaginable in that small mountain village, but the other party was actually willing to give Mu Wonking 3 grains of soil. Wonking must be the chosen one, with a great opportunity. Maybe, Muling village is just taking advantage of it. Mu Wonking hesitated for a moment, but still accepted it. The sacrificial spirit has been saved, and the remaining treasures should be sent back to Senior Li and the others. It turns out that 1 grain of this kind of spiritual soil can save the sacrifice spirit, but I was greedy and took 3 grains. I hope not to leave a bad impression on Senior Li and the terrifying master sacrifice spirit. The sacrificial spirit came back to life, and the crowd cheered. It's okay to sacrifice the spirit. Our Muling village is safe. Everyone was very excited. But, at this moment, a voice came quickly. Oh no! I saw a man running over in a hurry and saying. A large group of troops from Huailing village appeared a mile away. They are coming. Hearing this, everyone was very angry. How dare these bastards come here? Fight, fight. Kill them all. This time Huailing village's shameless sneak attack caused heavy casualties in Muling village, and everyone could no longer hold back their anger. Copy guy. Murantian even gave orders. The whole village is ready. Soon, a team came from the forest. There are 200 to 300 people in the team, all of whom are adult elites. The leader among them is the head of Huailing village, Huairendong. Huairendong. Murantian stepped forward and said coldly. Your Huailing village is so ambitious that you are finally going to show your fangs. Huairendong walked out step by step, his face gloomy to the extreme. People from your village killed my son. Hand over the murderer. As compensation, all the men will destroy their cultivation and the women will leave the village on their knees. Don't force me to massacre the village. He was aloof and indifferent. Compensation. Mu Wonking stepped forward, gritted her teeth and said. Your son deserves the blame. Huairendong stared at Mu Wonking and said, so, it was you who killed my son. There was an unconcealed murderous intent in his words. Mu Wonking shook her head and said. He offended someone you Huailing village can't afford to offend, so he died. Hearing this, Huairendong laughed angrily. Ridiculous. In this area, are there people in Huailing village who can't afford to offend? Are you talking about the old grape in your village who is about to die? He had a murderous intention and said. Today, destroy the wood spirit village. The words fell. In his hand, a branch appeared directly. The sacrifice from Huailing village. In an instant, a dark wind howled in an area. Ghost cries were heard again, and a cold wind blew. It seemed as if a giant tree was rising from the ground and appeared behind Huairendong. Countless infant ghosts were crying and howling as they rushed toward Muling village. This is similar to the vision Huayan showed before. However, what the locust man is holding in his palm at this moment is the branch of the locust tree itself, which is equivalent to its clone. The power is extremely extraordinary, with almost 1/3 of the power of the locust tree. It has gone beyond the holy way. Huairendong knew that the old grape might still have a breath. Therefore, he was determined to seek stability and directly use the branches of locust trees to massacre the village. The void is filled with a strange and murderous aura, sweeping towards Muling village. Everyone in Muling village was frightened. This kind of aura, they couldn't resist at all. However, right now, a grapevine suddenly rises against the sky. The shadow soared into the sky, emitting endless light. It's like a sword piercing into the ghost. In an instant, the ghost cried miserably. Countless infant ghosts collapsed and disappeared. The grapevines are cutting towards the east of the Sephora japonica tree, as well as the shadow of the old Sephora japonica tree. Old grape, how dare you! The shadow of the locust tree made a hoarse and twisted sound, exuding endless evil energy, like two huge ghost hands, grabbing the old vine. However, when the old vine stabbed, the ghost hand collapsed instantly. No. How could you have broken through to this realm? Not only did you regain your life, but you also became stronger. The old locust tree trembled. The old vine has arrived. In an instant, the shadow of the locust tree died instantly as if it had been destroyed. No. Hui Rendong screamed even more miserably. The branches of the locust tree exploded in his hands, and both of his arms were gone. The whole person flew out upside down and hit the mountain forest heavily. He vomited blood and looked at the grapevines in Muling village in horror. Horrible. At this moment, Mu Nanshan and others from Muling village had already led people to rush towards the people in Huailing village. The people in Huailing village saw that the spirit sacrifice had been defeated, and their morale was now in chaos. Block them, block them. Hui Rendong shouted, struggled to get up, and ran away regardless of the pain on his body. A hunt begins. Until the sun sets. The massacre just ended. The elites brought by Huailing village, more than 100 people died. The rest of them all fled in embarrassment and became useless. This battle is so enjoyable. Mu Nanshan opened his mouth and said, finally, I have avenged my brothers. It's a pity that that beast from Hui Rendong escaped. Mu Rantian said. Don't worry, after this battle, Huailing village can no longer do evil. Mu Nanshan suggested, village chief, let's lead the people directly to destroy Huailing village. Mu Rantian shook his head and said. Not yet. He looked at the sacrificial spirit and said. The realm of spiritual sacrifice is changing, it is about to break through. During this period, it is not appropriate to fight again, lest it affect the Lord's sacrificial spirit. Hearing this, Mu Nanshan and others also nodded. Wonking. Mu Rantian then spoke and said. Go and prepare some gifts. Our Muling village has received such a great favor, it's time to thank the senior who gave us the spiritual soil. His expression was extremely solemn. This is a big deal. Good. Mu Wonking said, she was also ready to return the spiritual soil as soon as possible. Early next morning. Mu Rantian, Mu Nan Ran and Mu Qingguan left Muling village with carefully prepared gifts. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 417. Now. Huailing village. When the elite soldiers who went to conquer Muling village returned in disgrace, the whole village was shocked. Huailing village was actually defeated. The first one to escape was Hui Rendong. At this moment, he was kneeling in front of the locust tree. His face was filled with grief and anger, his arms had been blown away and it was difficult to regenerate. He, almost became a useless person. Sacrifice to the spirits, old grape in Muling village, not only did not die, but he was reborn. It's unprecedentedly powerful. Please take action and destroy it. We in Huailing village are willing to pay any price. He is praying. However, the leaves of the old locust tree swayed in the wind. It's like a cunning old man thinking. Can actually destroy one of my clones. That old Pudao is obviously about to die, who can save his life? A low, hoarse voice came out. Tell me the details of your battle before and after. The old locust tree suddenly opened its mouth towards the locust tree. Hui Rendong was stunned for a moment, but immediately narrated it from beginning to end. You said, that girl from Muling village said there is a being that you can't afford to offend. The old locust tree immediately caught this. Hui Rendong said, yes, but there are no such strong people in this area. The old locust tree murmured. No matter what, the treasure must have been found in Muling village. Can bring old grapes back to life, if I get it? The leaves of the old locust tree trembled slightly. Suddenly, it spoke in a low voice and said, I will be away for a while. After saying that, the old locust tree suddenly stood up from the ground. Sayazi walked into the wilderness. Hui Rendong was stunned. What is going on? The spirit sacrificer, actually left on his own initiative? Sacrifice the spirit, I will definitely get my revenge. He gritted his teeth. It's right in front. Mu Wanking, along with Mu Rantian and Muninshan, had arrived at the Grey Mist Mountain range. These areas originally belonged to overlord creatures such as the roaring tiger and the flying eagle. Mu Rantian was filled with emotion all the way. Now, there are no ferocious beasts to be seen here. It seems that Wanking is not lying. That small mountain village can really hunt overlord-level creatures. Finally, they walked to the small mountain village. Is this the scary village? Mu Rantian waited and looked at it. The village is full of harmony. The village seemed to be extremely ordinary. This is it. Mu Wanking spoke and took a deep breath. She took the two of them into the village. As soon as I entered the village, I saw the plum tree at the entrance of the village. This is the spirit worshipper here. Mu Wanking spoke towards the plum tree. Mu Rantian and the two looked at each other, their expressions instantly shocked. What a sacrifice to the soul. Mu Rantian took a breath of air. He is well informed and has traveled to many places, but, even the powerful tribes in this wilderness. It is impossible for the spirit sacrifice to be as powerful as this plum tree. This sacrificial spirit should be a strong person in the divine path sequence. Wanking, is this where you got your spiritual soil? Muninshan saw the soil at the root of the plum tree. Any one of them would be extremely unbelievable. It's exactly the same as what Mu Wanking took away. He was trembling on the spot. What on earth did this village come from? The sacrificial spirits in their Muling village only need a grain of soil to gain 1,000 years of life. But now, this plum tree was grown from this kind of spiritual soil. Unthinkable. Mu Wanking nodded and said, exactly. As she said that, she took a step forward, respectfully opened the wooden box, and said, Thank you, the respected Lord Sacrificing Spirits, for giving us the spiritual soil. The sacrificial spirits of our village have been saved. Wanking does not dare to occupy the extra spiritual soil, so I will give it back to the Lord Sacrificing Spirits. With that said, she respectfully placed the 2 pieces of mud back at the roots of the plum tree. Then bow deeply. Mu Rantian and Muninshan also hurriedly followed, extremely respectful. During the whole process, Plum Tree seemed to be completely unaware and there was no movement at all. But Mu Rantian and others thought it was normal. To these terrifying sacrificial spirits, they are nothing more than ants. People offering sacrifices to their spirits would not even look at them. Grandpa Village Chief, Uncle Nanshan, let's go. Senior Li. Should live in the village. Mu Wanking spoke. Several people immediately moved on. However, after taking only a few steps, they felt confused. No. Did we confess to the wrong spirit? Muninshan pointed to a clump of grass on the roadside. That Kinko breath is very powerful. It gives people the feeling, I am afraid that even a strong man from the Rongdao realm will not be able to withstand it. Moreover, they carefully observed that the grass roots were all the same spiritual soil. Several people looked at each other. In a village, could there be 2 kinds of sacrificial spirits? A plum tree, a grass. They are all extremely extraordinary. It's unbelievable. This small mountain village is truly unbelievable. According to legend, the ones that can hold many kinds of sacrifice spirits, are all supreme sects. Mu took a deep breath. He became increasingly uncertain about the origin of this small mountain village. Walk. They move on. However, not far away, several people became more and more shocked and confused. Because, they found, the plum trees and weeds we just saw are just the tip of the iceberg. The dog's tail flowers on the roadside sway as if there is a road flowing. There were swallows building a nest under a certain stone house. When they flew by, their bodies became stiff and they did not dare to move. And when everyone saw a vegetable insect on a vegetable leaf, they even suspected that the vegetable insect was the sacrifice spirit of the small mountain village. When passing by the ditch, several people even saluted respectfully to a few loaches in the ditch. My God, in this village, what exactly is a sacrifice to a spirit? Xuanhuan couldn't help but ask. I heard that some supreme sects may have 2 or 3 kinds of spirit sacrifices at the same time. But, the whole village is offering sacrifices to spirits? Unheard, unseen. Here, it's so scary here. Mu wiped the sweat from his forehead. Any creature here is a powerful existence that can stir up troubles in the outside world. Moreover, along the way, they discovered that that kind of spiritual soil was simply a bad street in this small mountain village. Everywhere. In the farmland, under the roots of trees, among the roots of grass. There were so many that the 3 of them were in a trance. They have the illusion that maybe the supreme spiritual soil here is just the most ordinary mud. It's complicated. The moods of the 3 of them are getting more and more complicated. At this moment, a middle-aged man wearing tattered clothes walked past them on the road. You are? Ming Tianbei asked with some confusion. Seeing this middle-aged man, Mu and the other 2 were instantly shocked. Is there a supreme being in the village? Mu looked deeply at Ming Tianbei. This person's aura is so powerful. Are you about to get a glimpse of the realm? Moreover, the clothes on his body looked tattered, but they contained a great aura. Supreme battle suit. He understood, this must be one of the village's god generals. Greetings, senior. Mu spoke immediately. Mu Nanshan and Xuanhuan also saluted hurriedly. Senior Qi, we are greatly favored by Senior Li and come to visit his old man. Mu Qingguan explained at the same time. But Ming Tianbei was stunned for a moment. Senior. He immediately smiled and said. I'm not a senior, I'm just picking up trash in this village. Senior Li you are looking for has to go further and see a small courtyard called Wuorxianting, which is his old man's residence. After saying that, he turned and left. When he reached the village entrance, he shouted. The devil commanders are divided. Soon, several powerful beings appeared out of nowhere. They are fighting over the garbage picked up by Ming Tianbei. An old vinegar jar, a rusty waste sickle, and even a few fruits that have been pecked by birds. But when Mu and others saw this scene, they fell into deep silence. That jar of jealousy is as if it can pretend to be heaven. That rusty sickle contains great power. In one swing, it can even cut off countless peaks in the wilderness. I feel like the gifts we prepared. Mu Nanshan's face was extremely ugly and he said, I can't give it away. In Muling village, in order to thank Senior Li and Xiaoshan village for their help, they sent all the most precious things in the village. But I just found out now. They were just like a few country bumpkins carrying cabbage to the palace to give gifts to the emperor. That's ridiculous. Xuanhuan felt a hint of inferiority. Muling village is not even as good as the garbage pickers here. Mu took a deep breath and said. Do not be discouraged. For the supreme being here, what kind of treasure have they not seen before? What we want to give is not a gift, but a sincere thank you. For such an expert who has no shortage of treasures for a long time, our attitude is the most important. In fact, he was very unsure. However, I can only bite the bullet and think this way. Several people immediately moved on. After a while, they finally saw a small courtyard. There are 4 big characters written in the small courtyard that are astonishing from time to time. Exciting. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 418. In the small courtyard. Li Fan has finished washing. Last night, the tiger cooked a big pot of soup. Gongya was about to go to the kitchen to cook breakfast when Li Fan said, "Just boil 2 eggs for Xiaobai. For a change today, I'll cook some noodles for you. Tiger bone soup noodles taste good." "Good master." Gongya spoke. Li Fan immediately went to the kitchen and cooked the noodles himself. Not long after, a bowl of hot tiger bone noodle soup was ready for each person. "Wow, it smells so good." Zai Ling couldn't help but start feasting. "Master's noodles are so delicious." Nanfan and Subakian also ignored the image of ladies and indulged in delicious food. A group of male disciples devoured it even more. Li Fan ate some casually, and then went to take care of Xiaobai for breakfast. He ate eggs and was unwilling to eat last night's meat. He didn't even touch the soup. Li Fan touched it gently. After Bai Xiaoqing finished eating the eggs, she turned around and meowed. There seemed to be a trace of grievance in the cat's eyes. "Okay, I know you don't like the taste of this meat, okay." Li Fan gently rubbed her belly. Bai Xiaoqing moaned and fell into Li Fan's hands. Li Fan smiled, "This little white cat is really spiritual." After everyone finished eating, Li Fan stood up and said, "Today I will teach you a new set of gymnastics." The disciples of Colorful Sunshine have almost learned it, and it just so happens that Li Fan has recently practiced summoning the times. "Well, you can teach them." Hearing this, a group of disciples were overjoyed. "It's great that I can do exercises with Master again." Zai Ling was extremely happy. The movements of this gymnastics should be different from the last one, so look forward to it. Nanfan and Subakian also looked forward to it. A group of male disciples were instantly ready and lined up. Li Fan immediately said, "Our rhythm is the same, come and follow me." The first section, stretching exercises, 1 2 3 4, 5 6 7 8, 2 2 3 4, 5 6 7 8. Li Fan started to move while shouting the beat. A group of disciples also followed him. Sure enough, this is another avenue of gymnastics. Although it is different from the Colorful Sunshine, it is equally profound. I feel, the potential in my body seems to be further activated. The gymnastics method taught to us by Master can continuously temper and develop our bodies. The group of disciples were extremely dignified. Because they already had the experience of learning Colorful Sunshine, this time they entered the country quite quickly and it was not as difficult as before. "Well, Xiling's legs are finally raised. Nanfan, lower your waist a little bit." "Gongya did a great job." "Dear Master, don't just exercise your buttocks." Li Fan was doing gymnastics while giving instructions. Soon, it was finally done. Purple water chestnuts, south wind, etc., dripping with fragrance and sweat. Although they have now reached the perfection of the holy path, this gymnastics still makes them feel strenuous. Long Xuanhuan and others were sweating profusely, but they all gained a lot. And at this moment, Murantian and others finally arrived outside the small courtyard. Unparalleled leisure court. This small courtyard makes people afraid to peek into it. Murantian was shocked. Just by taking a glance at it, he already felt that those 4 words were like gods. Do not look directly. On the contrary, Mu Wanking, although facing this small courtyard was like facing the ocean, making people fully feel her own insignificance, she did not have such a strong sense of fear. Mu Wanking took a deep breath, stepped forward and said, "Excuse me, is Senior Li at home?" She knocked on the door. In the courtyard, Li Fan had just finished doing gymnastics and was drinking the tea handed over by Gong Yat. When he heard the sound outside the yard, he immediately said, "Yes, please come in." Mu Wanking and the other three people immediately pushed the door open and entered. When they entered the small courtyard, the bodies of the three of them froze. The smell here is so extraordinary. No. This peach tree is the real sacrifice to the spirits, right? When Murantian saw the peach tree, he was shocked. "How do I feel, that chicken over there?" Munanchan's scalp was numb and he didn't even dare to look at it. This kind of power is like facing a supreme existence. It made their legs feel weak. Mu Wanking was also very shocked. She observed the soil in the courtyard. The soil here. The quality is unimaginable. Better than those in small mountain villages. God, what a cave this is. To actually use such rare treasure land as a yard. She looked at every brick, tile, plant, and tree here with suspicion. She has no doubt that as long as it is in this small courtyard, if it is taken outside, it will probably cause a bloody war. She took a deep breath, looked at Li Fan, and said, "Meet Senior Li." Murantian and Munanchan looked at Li Fan and were even more shocked. Is this the Supreme Master who gave the spiritual soil? The owner of this small mountain village? It seems ordinary, but it must be something they can't imagine. They also saluted hurriedly. Li Fan smiled and said, "We are all neighbors, no need to be polite, please get up quickly." Immediately, the three of them stood up. "How about it? Can the grapes in your village be saved?" Li Fan spoke. Mu Wanking said gratefully, "Senior Qi, I have saved him. And his vitality is far better than before." "Thank you, Senior." Murantian also stepped forward and said respectfully, "Senior Qi, I am the village chief of Muling village, Murantian. This is the most outstanding person of the middle-aged generation in our village, Munanchan. Girl Wanking was favored by Senior and saved our entire Muling village, so we came here to thank Senior." As he said that, he hesitated for a moment, then took out a few brocade boxes and said, "This is a little bit of our feelings." He lowered his head and said in shame, "Muling village is remote and weak. These are the best things in our village. Please don't blame me, Senior." He was really worried. After all, even if they spend everything they have, for Senior Li, it is not even comparable to a blade of grass on the roadside. If Senior Li thinks that Muling village is scornful, then it's over. With that said, he opened the brocade box. Li Fan also looked at it with some surprise, and saw that among them were some farm products. A pumpkin. A small bag of rice. 2 corn cobs. There are also 2 small bottles of wine. All the gifts are here, but at this moment, Murantian and the three of them are so ashamed that they blush. This is already the most precious thing in Muling village. Yuan Sheng melon, peeping god rice, Xian Sheng corn, all are wild level holy medicines. However, this mere holy medicine may still have some value in the outside world, but in this small mountain village, I'm afraid it can only be used to feed chickens and pigs. After all, there is no shortage of magic medicine here. Li Fan was startled when he saw these agricultural products. At first glance, these agricultural products don't look like much. The pumpkin is really crooked and cracked. The corn cobs are shriveled up, and the rice is like old rice. Just the 2 pots of small wine, judging from Li Fan's proficiency in brewing, it is definitely not good. But, is this the best thing about Muling village? Li Fan immediately understood that this Muling village was miserable. The planting technology is definitely not up to par. The crops grown are also weak. How miserable the people in the village must be. Li Fan felt a hint of sympathy in his heart. After all, if rural people could not grow crops well, their lives would be really difficult. He immediately said, "Thank you. Li likes this gift very much." He waved his hand, and Gongya and Wu Date immediately stepped forward and took all the gifts. When Murantian and the other three heard this, they were all overjoyed. These seniors like their gifts. I'm just saying, what these seniors care about is not the gifts, but our attitudes. Murantian is very happy. Your choice is right. After Li Fan accepted the gift, he said, Li lives in poverty in a mountain village and has nothing else, but he is self-sufficient in farming on weekdays. Nanfan, go get some millet. Nanfan stood up immediately, and after a while, he had already fetched a bag of millet. Li Fan's rice is plump and round. He said. These are considered gifts in return. With that said, he handed the millet to Mu Wanking. Mu Wanking was stunned for a moment. She was trembling. Looking at that bag of millet. She was dazed and shocked. Because every grain of that rice exudes supreme light. The spiritual energy was even more intense, and vaguely, the spiritual energy even transformed into many auspicious beasts that were dancing. God, is this a magic medicine? She couldn't believe it. Moreover, this kind of spiritual plant treasure is actually given to myself and others. This is not a dream. Murantian and Munanchan were also completely stunned. Murantian was agitated and said hurriedly. Senior, we can't bear it. This is so precious. Even if it is just one, appearing in the wilderness will cause a fight. A bag, if the outside world knew about it, Muling village might be wiped out overnight. Treasures are sometimes disasters. Especially a treasure like this. I am afraid that even the top dynasties in the Great Ruins realm are not qualified to possess it. Muling village, I don't dare to ask for it. Li Fan sighed secretly, these farmers really looked like they had never seen the world. It seems that the planting technology in this world is really too backward. It doesn't matter, take it, it's not a rare thing. Li Fan opened his mouth, then smiled and said, it's rude to come and go without reciprocating. You don't want me, Li Fan, to become a rude person, right? Hearing this, Murantian and others were startled. They are trying to figure out the meaning of Senior Li's words. It's not polite to come back but not reciprocate. Could it be that this bag of divine rice is related to cause and effect? Munanchan murmured. Senior Li has given such a great gift, how can we not refuse it? Not to do so would be disrespectful to him. Murantian came back to his senses and suddenly broke into a cold sweat. He bowed and said, Senior, please forgive me for being so stupid. We will accept this rice. Mu Wanking trembled and took the rice handed over by Li Fan. Thank you, Senior. They speak. Li Fan then nodded with a smile and said, Master, please send a few of them out. Wu Date said. Okay, Master. Murantian and others immediately stood up and left, very respectfully. After they left, Master, these things. Gongya spoke, looking at the corn cobs in her hand, not knowing what to do. You can't cook this. Well. Li Fan said, feed the chickens. But after hearing this, the chickens over there suddenly started clucking and screaming, as if in protest. Li Fan. Forget it, give it to Uncle John. I remember that the big black cow has a good appetite. They work so hard to bring it. It's not good to waste it. Gongya immediately said. As you command. Wu Dade, Murantian, and others walked out of the small mountain village together. Master Wu, Senior Li has been so kind to us, and we really don't know how to repay him. Murantian spoke anxiously. This love is too great. It's so big that their Muling village may not even be able to afford it. Wu Date grinned and said. Old man, you don't have to think too much. This rice is really useless. If you don't finish it, you're just feeding the chickens. Hearing this, Murantian and the other three fell into deep silence. Such amazing rice. Feed the chickens. So, wouldn't it mean that the corn they sent was not qualified to feed chickens? All three of them felt that their self-esteem had collapsed. At this time, they finally walked out of the small mountain village. Just saved. Suddenly, not far ahead, a dark wind is coming. Several people's expressions changed, and when they looked up, they saw a huge locust tree appearing in front of them at some point. The locust tree was covered with corpses of babies. The locust tree is like an old man, walking towards the small mountain village step by step, carrying an evil spirit. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 419. Seeing the old locust tree, Murantian and others were all shocked. This is the spirit sacrifice of Huiling village. Murantian lost his voice and said, "It's coming to kill." Munanchan said, "It chased us here." Their faces darkened. The sacrificial spirit of Huiling village is one of the strongest creatures in this area. Now, he actually left the village on his own initiative. The old locust tree keeps approaching. On the trunk of the locust tree, a ferocious face suddenly appeared, twisted and cruel, like a ghost. Those twisted tree eyes stared at Murantian and the others, while also looking at the small mountain village behind them. "It seems that this is where you got the treasure." A blazing color flashed in the tree's eyes, and he said, "All the treasures here belong to me. You are all going to die." Its figure instantly increased more than 10 times. This is a sacrificial spirit in the realm of fusion of the Tao. The fourth level of the Rongdao realm. The breath slashed towards Murantian and others. Murantian exploded with all his strength, showing great strength and wanting to resist. He punched out with a cyan edge. However, when the ghost cried, he immediately flew out and landed heavily, his face pale. Murantian has already half-stepped out of the holy path, but facing this sacrificial spirit, he is no match at all. Grandpa the village chief. Village head. Muwanking and Munanchan were both anxious. Wu Dade became even more angry and said, "You old tree demon, how dare you seek death here?" The old locust tree just said coldly, "Damn fat man. Its shadows are towering, and its countless branches stretch out, almost wrapping the entire small mountain village. But, right now, an inexplicable energy came from the small mountain village. This energy will destroy everything." The countless branches of the old locust tree suddenly seemed to be cut off. No. The old locust tree let out a hoarse and miserable cry, and the trunk suddenly collapsed at this moment. Exploded into countless pieces. At the same time, somewhere in the forest far behind, a piece of old locust tree root suddenly jumped up with a scream and ran wildly. The old locust tree has lived in this wilderness for too long, so he is cunning and cunning. He takes action personally, but leaves a clone here. It can save your life at critical moments. Now, its doppelganger has escaped. In front of the small mountain village, Murantian and others were all in a daze. Huiling village, that powerful sacrificial spirit, was destroyed like this? This small mountain village really can't be messed with. Moreover, from beginning to end, they did not discover what existence had taken action. However, they didn't think much about it. Everything in this village looks like a sacrifice to spirits. Even if a vegetable insect jumps out, it can probably be done. "Old man, are you okay?" Wu Dade looked at Murantian. Murantian shook his head and said, "Don't worry, sir, I'm fine. If it weren't for your village, the three of us would probably be doomed." As he spoke, he paused and said, "But young master, according to the information we have received, there seems to be some existence deeper in the wilderness behind Huiling village. This time, they have enmity with Gaikan." Wu Dade said. The existence deep in the wilderness? Is it an animal? His eyes were a little bright and he said. It's not a tree again, is it? You can't eat trees. Hearing this, Murantian, who looked solemn, almost spit out a mouthful of blood. Tree, can't be eaten? Does this village judge its enemies by whether they can eat them? But think about it, they just stewed a roaring tiger. It seems reasonable, reasonable, reasonable. I don't know. Murantian simply didn't know how to answer. Wu Date asked them a lot more information about this vast wilderness, and then returned to the village. Murantian and others also headed straight towards Muling village. Soon, Murantian and others finally returned to the village. After entering the village, Murantian immediately began to sit cross-legged under the sacrifice spirit and began to heal his injuries. He cherished it and picked up a millet. Then put it in your mouth and chew it carefully. A powerful sacred aura fills the whole body. In an instant, he clearly felt as if his whole body was being washed. The old body is actually glowing with vitality. The injuries left by the old locust tree healed instantly. He is full of energy. Moreover, at this moment, his realm is breaking through. He had ventured into the wilderness, and almost had a chance to break through to the realm of Fusion Tao in the past. It just fell short. Originally, he was getting old, and it was almost impossible for him to have another chance to enter Shinto in this life. But at this moment, these rise. Give him a chance. The vines droop to protect his path. Soon. Boom. Murantian's aura suddenly changed. He opened his old eyes, which were filled with excitement and a kind of brilliance. At this moment, the inexplicable rules between heaven and earth entangled him. He has become a strong man in the realm of Fusion Dao. This senior's rice actually contains the yin and yang Dao, and there is nothing missing. He spoke excitedly. You must know that from the holy way to the divine way, the most important thing is the blending of yin and yang. The blending of yin and yang is the path to spirituality. It is very difficult for ordinary cultivators of the holy way to break into the realm of the holy way. The world of Yang Jian is filled with spiritual energy containing the power of true Yang. But Yin Qi is hard to find. There is even a special mineral vein in the underworld, called Yin Mine, which specializes in producing ores that carry Yin energy. The price of this kind of ore is high, and the Yin Mine is controlled by big forces such as Super Dynasty. In addition, almost only the extremely rare underworld in legends has Yin Qi, and the Yin Qi in the underworld is said to be the highest quality of Yin power. If you get even one ray, you are destined to take off in this life. In the wilderness, there is almost no village where Yin Qi can be found. Therefore, the ceiling of village level power is the realm of seeing the holy way. Only those tribes that are far superior to village level forces have Shinto practitioners. This bag of rice given by Senior Li can create a big tribe and a big force. He was so excited. At this moment, he wanted to kneel down to that small mountain village. He felt more and more how precious this bag of rice was. Just one pill will make you a strong person in the fusion realm. Moreover, he vaguely felt that he had not completely digested it yet. Great, great. The village chief has become a strong man in the fusion realm, no one will dare to mess with our village anymore. Everyone was excited. Everyone, hurry up and practice. Wood-burning heavenly way. As long as the holy path is perfected, there is hope for a breakthrough. He had another thought in his mind. That senior, by giving such an opportunity, was probably trying to make Muling village grow. For such an expert, if his son falls, he must have far-reaching intentions and a grand plan. Where did this thing come from? The voice of offering sacrifices to the spirits came slowly. Murantian stood up immediately and respectfully told everything that happened in the small mountain village. The sacrifice to the spirit was silent for a long time. Master, sacrifice the spirit, from what you see, does that senior have any intentions? Murantian asked. Old Grape said slowly. It's disrespectful for that person to come and go without reciprocating. Perhaps the ancestors of Muling village have an old relationship with him. So, in this life, he missed his old feelings, so he took action. This is just my guess. After all, the only thing that a person like that can worry about in his words and deeds is cause and effect, and it is not disrespectful to go back and forth. I seem to have seen a big cause and effect that spans many years. Hearing this, Murantian was also startled. Did his ancestor have any relationship with Senior Li? At this time, a thought flashed through his mind. Could it be? Munanchan stepped forward and said solemnly, Village Chief, is the legend true? Our Muling village has produced peerless experts, and even created peerless dynasties in the outside world. Murantian thought for a long time. According to legend, the ancestors of Muling village once escaped from the depths of the wilderness and were on the verge of despair. Later, they established Muling village here. I'm going to read the clan records. He spoke. At the same time, he took Muwanking away. He wanted to personally teach Muwanking how to practice. Wanking, you are the first person to meet that senior. You must have a great destiny. From today on, you must take a grain of rice every day to grow up quickly. He warned. Muwanking was stunned. A grain of rice a day, isn't this too luxurious? And at this moment, under a big mountain, this area is deathly silent. Ordinary ferocious beasts would not dare to come close. This is the territory of a powerful overlord-level creature. But at this moment, an old tree root, Sayazi, escaped in. Brother Lynx, help, help. The roots of the old tree let out a miserable cry. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 420. Brother Lynx, help me. The only remaining root of the old locust tree quickly fled into the forest. It is very quiet in the mountains and forests. Immediately afterwards, a deep beast roar came out instantly. A huge tricolor lynx came from the jungle. The aura of the tricolor lynx is very powerful. This is a creature that merges with the 9 heavens. Even the old locust tree can only merge with the 4th level of heaven. What happened? Where is your body? The tall lynx walked up to the roots of the old tree and made a confused sound. Old Shujen said with a cry in his voice. My body was destroyed. Muling village has a backer, and there are strong people behind them. Brother Lynx, I am not their opponent. It is the locust tree of Huiling village, but it was ordered by this 3-color lynx to attack Muling village. The 3-color lynx's wild eyes suddenly flashed with displeasure and said. It is said that that grapevine may come from the depths of the wilderness. Moreover, it is one of the few creatures that can naturally resist the evil power of the wilderness. It was requested by the Crow King by name. Besides, it's already exhausted. With your strength, you should be able to win it. I couldn't do it, how should I explain it to the Crow King? The old locust tree said sadly. Brother Lynx, you don't know something. Old Pudao from Muling village has been reborn. The old vine is now far more powerful than before. I suspect that it may have entered the state of concentration. Hearing this, the 3-color lynx's eyes changed. The old grape is reborn and has a breakthrough? Tell me clearly what's going on. He asked solemnly. Lao Shujen immediately told the story with tears and runny noses. My true body followed the auras of those people in Muling village, leaving me outside the Grey Mist Mountains. I don't know how the true body died. After listening, the tricolor lynx fell into deep thought. Grey Mist Mountain Ridge is also a deserted place, and a small mountain village actually appeared. It's a little weird, let's go to the Crow Food tribe first. The Crow food tribe is the largest force in this area. The sacrificial spirit of this tribe is a black crow. He is also the real boss behind this lynx. In the small courtyard. After breakfast, Li Fan took his disciples together to complete the radio gymnastics as usual. Dear Virtue, today seems to be a market day. Li Fan spoke to Wu Dade. Previously, Wu Dade learned a lot of information about this area from Murantian and others. The original market is maintained in the wilderness and is held once a month. Wu Dade said. Yes, Master, do you want to buy something? Li Fan said. Well, go outside and take a look at the prices of agricultural products and so on. A few days ago, Murantian and others arrived, and Li Fan discovered a big business opportunity. The people in this area seem to have very poor cultivation skills. Those crooked melons, cracked dates, and corn cobs are quite miserable to feed pigs. However, the cultivation level in the village is very high. Corn, rice, fruits, vegetables, all are high-quality agricultural products produced here, and there is no shortage in all seasons. Maybe it can be sold for a good price outside. Let Dade first investigate the market. If possible, there will be another way for the farmers in the village. Earn more money, and everyone's life will be more prosperous. It's a pity that Huo Linger and others are missing somewhere in the world. Otherwise, with their business acumen, if they can help, they should be able to open up sales soon. It would be better if we could find a few more big bosses to help carry the goods. It's a pity, it's difficult to achieve in the short term. Now I have no choice but to lead my disciples into battle. When Wu Dade heard this, he was startled. Master asked me to go to the market? No, Master, he has a lot of tricks up his sleeve. It seems that he must have some important responsibility this time. Wu Dade felt that he was getting smarter, and immediately said. Obey Master. Shall I take Dehe with me? Li Fan smiled. The relationship between this great virtue and the big black dog is really good. Since returning from hunting a few days ago, he has been sleeping with the dog every day. When he fell asleep, the dog was biting him. He was so close. Okay, go ahead. Li Fan said. Wu Dade immediately took the big black dog out. Not long after, he had left the small mountain village. Damn dog, you said Master sent me to go to the market, did you have any deep meaning? Wu Dade asked the big black dog. Dehe said contemptuously. Human pet, you still have some intelligence. There's something wrong with the atmosphere in this wilderness. Maybe there's something the owner is looking for, let's go quickly. One person and one dog left immediately. According to the information Wu Dade learned from Murantian and others. There are 3 tribes in this area, the Crow Food Tribe, the Ghost Willow Tribe, and the Giant Ape Tribe. Among them, the Crow Food Tribe is the largest. The market is in Hanshi town at the junction of the 3 tribes. Every market day, people from all the surrounding villages will come. Soon after, Wu Dade and Dehe finally arrived in Hanshi town. Hanshi town is an ancient town made of stones, which looks very old. There are rows of stone houses on both sides of a stone street. Almost all of those stone houses belong to the 3 major tribes, while people in ordinary villages can only set up stalls on both sides of the street. Rabbit's ear grass, the holy medicine to stop bleeding. Refined cold iron can be used to create supreme weapons. The barrier-breaking pill can allow people to break through from the shackle state to the me-killing state. The shouts of hawking kept coming and going. Wu Dade and Big Black Dog kept walking forward. Along the way, Wu Dade just looked around casually, but basically nothing attracted him. Because the things in this market are all too low level. Especially when he saw the so-called spiritual plants sold by some people, he was speechless. It's even worse than the ones sent by Murantian. They are all melons, cracked dates, and even pigs won't eat them. He is actually called a spiritual plant. Tisk, that's it? If you take out any of our village's crops, you'll kill them instantly. Wu Dade spoke. But at this time, the big black dog suddenly sniffed. It suddenly turned its head and looked in a certain direction and murmured. Its breath. He immediately said anxiously. Renchong, come with me. As he spoke, it quickly ran forward. Wu Dade hurriedly followed. Finally, the big black dog stopped next to a stall. The person setting up the stall was a dark-skinned middle-aged man. His stall sells various weapons, but the quality seems to be low and few people care about them. Seeing Wu Dade, the middle-aged stall owner's eyes lit up and he said, "What do you want to buy? I have all the best weapons here." Wu Dade was puzzled and sent a message. "Dead dog, what do you want to buy?" At this moment, the black dog was staring at the piece of iron on the stall. The piece of iron seemed to have just been dug out of the ground, it was stained with rust and almost rotten. However, there was a hint of sadness in the big black dog's eyes. "Is that sword broken?" It was silent for a long time before sending a message to Wu Dade, saying, "Buy this." This damn dog actually fell in love with a broken piece of iron? Wu Dade complained in his heart, but still said to the stall owner, "These weapons of yours are not very good." As he spoke, he squatted down and picked. The middle-aged stall owner finally found a customer and said hurriedly, "Although these weapons of mine are not suitable for use by the strongest, they are very good for shackle-level cultivators." Wu Dade picked up a meteor hammer next to the piece of rotten iron and said, "This is not bad." The middle-aged stall owner praised, "Good vision, this meteor hammer is powerful and heavy, and it is most suitable for a master like you." Wu Dade casually picked up the iron piece next to the meteor hammer and said, "Huh? You even sell this kind of scrap metal? Where did it come from? Are you planning to use it to deceive people?" The stall owner hurriedly explained. "This was brought out by a medicine farmer from the depths of the wilderness 3 months ago. When we found his body, this was the only thing left on his body. Even though it's rusty, it's very hard. I'm just showing it off casually and I'm not planning to sell it. How can you say I'm cheating people?" Wu Dade nodded and said, "I'm going to buy a meteor hammer. Give it to me as a gift and go back and make a toy for the children in the village." The middle-aged stall owner was overjoyed when he heard this. He didn't care about the rotten iron pieces and said immediately, "Okay, since I have a destiny with you, I won't care about it anymore. The 200 crow food coins will be yours." The crow food tribe is the strongest in this area, so the crow food tribe's gold coins are the only currency in circulation. Hearing this, Wu Dade was startled. "Damn, it seems like I have no money. Not a cent. Is it expensive?" 180 is fine." The middle-aged stall owner was a little anxious. Wu Dade was a little helpless, took out the kettle and said, "How about I let you take a sip of my water and pay your bills, okay?" The middle-aged stall owner was startled for a moment, but his face suddenly darkened. "What do you mean, to entertain me?" Wu Dade hurriedly explained, "No, I don't have money. Isn't it okay to let you drink water? If it doesn't work, you can just pick some mud from under my feet." But the middle-aged stall owner was even more angry. "Damn, who is this person? Do you want to die?" He immediately showed the knife and spoke fiercely. "Damn, this fat guy is such a bully." Suddenly, many people around came to watch. Fighting is generally prohibited in fairs, and this situation attracted everyone's attention. Wu Dade was all anxious. Damn it, why is this man so ignorant? But at this moment, a clear and beautiful voice sounded, "Master Wu." Wu Dade turned around and saw that it was Mu Wanqing and Mu Zheng. They also came to the market. "What happened, Mr. Wu?" Mu Wanqing stepped forward to ask. Before Wu Dade could speak, the middle-aged stall owner had already said angrily, This damn fat guy was entertaining me. He had already negotiated a price, but he actually wanted to renege on the bill. He even offered to let me take a sip of his water or give me a little mud to offset the bill. Damn it, is this human talk? But upon hearing this, Xuanhuan was shocked. What? Water, mud to pay the bill? Master Wu, you can't do this. She spoke quickly. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 421. Xuanhuan is anxious. She knew Wu Dade's origins very well, and she also understood how terrifying the mud in that small mountain village was. Likewise, the water from that small mountain village is probably a sacred spring. Even if all the products in the entire market were put together, they would never be worth as much as a drop of water or a grain of soil on Wu Dade's body. Paying bills with water and mud, it's too wasteful, too extravagant. What a waste of money. Wu Dade scratched his head and said. But, there's no money. Xuanhuan said directly. Isn't it just money? I'll pay for it for you. After speaking, she looked at the middle-aged stall owner and said, How much? The middle-aged stall owner said. 200 crow food coins. Xuanhuan immediately counted out the money from her purse and handed it to the middle-aged stall owner. The middle-aged stall owner then put away the knife, looked at Wu Dade fiercely, and said. You're lucky. If you dare to entertain me next time, I'll kill you. Wu Dade felt aggrieved for a while. Damn it, this damn dog insists on buying some broken iron pieces, which makes me embarrassed for a while. He picked up the meteor hammer, picked up the iron piece, and was about to leave. Wait. At this time, a proud female voice suddenly came. I saw a girl walking next to her. She had her hands behind her back, her face was full of coldness and arrogance, and she was wearing a green luxurious dress. Along with him was a man in a green shirt, with an extraordinary aura. On the left chest of both of them, there is a green tree emblem, which seems to be emitting some kind of green wave, which is very extraordinary. Put down the iron piece in your hand and get out. The girl pointed at Wu Dade, high and mighty, like an order. Seeing these two people coming, a well-informed old man in the crowd suddenly exclaimed. A person from the Muling dynasty. Everyone around was shocked. The Wood Spirit dynasty? Those who can be called a dynasty, are all superpowers. The powerful dynasties outside will hardly enter the wilderness. Why are they here? Every time the outside world enters the wilderness, there are big changes. Everyone is talking. Xuanhuan and Mujing were instantly shocked. The Muling dynasty? It is rumored by our ancestors that a powerful man once came out of Muling village and founded an undying dynasty. Could it be that? Xuanhuan's face was filled with surprise and uncertainty. However, Wu Dade just looked at the two of them sideways and said. Oh? You want it? The girl said indifferently, I handed it over for your own good. Hearing this, everyone around was shocked. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the iron piece in Wu Dade's hand. Is this a treasure? Even people from the imperial dynasty have to care about it? It's definitely not easy. I made a mistake. I thought it was a piece of shit. There was a hint of greed in the eyes of many people at this moment. Wu Dade smiled and said. Sorry, I've already bought this. The girl said directly, I will give you 100 times the money. She is determined to win. This iron piece is too important, and it is very likely to be related to their goal of the Wood Spirit dynasty this time. Wu Dade said, Tisk, it's a pity that I still won't sell it. Are you going to bite me? He looks mean. A flash of anger flashed across the girl's face. The man in green shirt next to her walked out in one step and said coldly. If I remember correctly, you didn't pay. Is this the girl who paid the money? He looked at Xuanhuan and said. My dear, Muling dynasty Mugang, Girl, this is a holy light pill that can allow you to enter a great realm. That piece of iron belongs to you. Give it to me, and this pill will be yours. However, Xuanhuan shook her head and said, I do not want. As she spoke, she paused, and said, Sir, Miss, I advise you, don't act recklessly. Although she didn't know how powerful the Muling dynasty was, she knew very well how terrifying that small mountain village was. Why are you talking nonsense to them? Just kill a few ants. The girl also spoke impatiently. Mugang also flashed with murderous intent, and immediately released his breath slowly. Quasi-Emperor of the Holy Path. Everyone's expressions changed. It was indeed a member of the imperial dynasty. With such cultivation at this age, he could be called a genius. He approached Wu Dade and was ready to take action. Wu Dade's face suddenly became tense, and he said, You want to rob it forcefully? Don't mess around, I'm afraid. The man in green shirt punched suddenly and flew away, his fist carrying a green edge. Enough to smash a mountain. However, Wu Dade remained motionless. His fist came. Wu Dade waved his hand as if to shoo away flies. In an instant. Ah! With a scream, Mugang flew backwards, his hand was broken. Everyone gasped. This fat guy is so strong. They were all a little scared. The girl in the green dress was also startled. She immediately understood that she had underestimated this fat man. If you dare to attack us, you and the forces behind you will pay a heavy price. She screamed threats, but didn't dare to do anything. Because, this fat man might be better than me. Lord Three-Colored Lynx is crossing the border, all the people waiting here, please get out of the way. At this time, a loud shout came. Upon hearing this, everyone's expressions changed and they hurried to both sides of the street. The Three-Color Lynx, a overlord-level creature, said to be on good terms with the Crow Food tribe. You can't mess with him. This is an overlord who can block and kill gods. There was fear on everyone's faces. A tall lynx and an old tree root came together. Surprisingly, there are the Three-Color Lynx and the old locust tree. They passed by this place on their way to the Crow Food tribe. Huh? No. Suddenly, old tree Gen suddenly turned his head and looked at Wu Dade and others. They are the ones who killed me. Old locust tree root spoke hurriedly. He sensed it. Suddenly, the Three-Colored Lynx raised its eyes and stared at Wu Dade and Xuanhuan. The breath of Rongdao Nine Heavens was released instantly. The expressions of everyone around them changed drastically, and they hurriedly moved away from Wu Dade and others. These people actually offended the Tricolor Lynx, it's over. The Three-Colored Lynx is running rampant in all directions. Only the sacrificial spirits of the three major tribes can suppress it. But the green-dressed girl from the Muling dynasty's eyes lit up, and she immediately stepped forward and said, Senior Three-Colored Lynx, please take action to capture this person. I, the Wood Spirit Dynasty, will be grateful. Hearing this, the Three-Color Lynx nodded and said, Easy to say. If you go along with the flow of favors, nothing will be done if you don't do it. The girl in the green skirt had a look of joy in her eyes. Even in the wilderness, the Wood Spirit Dynasty responded to every call. That fat man is finished. The Three-Color Lynx stared at Wu Dade with its stern eyes. Human ants, kneel down. The Tricolor Lynx is approaching step by step. Behind it, a terrifying lynx silhouette that looked exactly like him shone out. Countless people in the market couldn't help but kneel down when faced with the pressure of overlord-level creatures. However, Wu Dade shook his head and said, A guy like you is not even qualified to be eaten in our village. Dead dog, come on. He said to the big gangster. Ridiculous ants. The Tricolor Lynx is extremely proud. But, at this moment, the big black dog suddenly raised his eyes and glanced at the Tricolor Lynx. In an instant, The three-color lynx paused for a moment, and it clearly felt that it seemed to be being targeted by some ancient giant beast. It looked at the big black dog. There was a hint of panic in his eyes. "No. You." Before the tricolor lynx finished speaking, it suddenly turned around and ran away with its tail between its legs. He ran away so fast that he even brought up a gust of wind. Everyone was dumbfounded. "What's going on?" The roots of the old locust tree were stunned, but then it started to tremble. "A dog that even the tricolor lynx can't offend? Brother Lynx, wait for me." The roots of the old locust tree are also running wildly. There was no trace of him in an instant. There was silence. Everyone looked at Wu Dade in disbelief. And the black dog? Where did this fat man come from? He actually brought a dog that can scare the three-color lynx. Negative is from other big tribes. Extraordinary. Everyone's eyes were extremely solemn. And the girl in the green dress turned pale at this moment. Because, she clearly felt that the dog, just issued a pressure that made her almost incontinent. What a creature this is. It's over. Did you provoke a terrifying existence in the wilderness? Xuanhuan and others also had complicated expressions. "Tisk, that's it?" Wu Dade said. "Let's go." He left immediately. Xuanhuan and Mu Jing also left with him. Until they left for a long time. "Ah! Who can tell me the origins of these people? I, Mu Manking, will be rewarded heavily." The green-dressed girl from the Muling dynasty spoke loudly, with unwillingness written all over her face. Not long after leaving the market, Wu Dade, Xuanhuan and others parted ways. He quickly returned to the small mountain village and arrived in front of the small courtyard. "Master, I'm back." He pushed open the door and entered. It was in the evening, Gongya was preparing dinner, and the weather was getting hotter, while Li Fan was enjoying the coolness under the tree. Seeing Wu Dade coming back, Li Fan smiled and said, "How about it? Is there any harvest?" Wu Dade said, "Master Qi, I found this in the market." As he spoke, he took out the rusty piece of iron. Li Fan was stunned for a moment. "What the hell is this? Ask your disciples to investigate the market conditions of agricultural products, and as a result, they come back with a piece of scrap metal? Huh!" At this time, Zhang Li exclaimed, "This piece of iron is related to rare animals and plants." He took out the crystal piece. The crystal piece is glowing. Wu Dade didn't pay much attention to the changes in the crystal piece along the way, and was stunned at this moment.